Hey, hey, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Scaling Smarter. My name is Ollie Taylor from Wisdom and Wayfinder, joined as always by my co-host Frank Majorana, who seems to be coming in from the seventh heaven today with the light above you.
The light shining down. I think it's going to be the light of knowledge that Pete's going to drop on us about AI today. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's the illumination. That's cool.
Awesome.
Yes. We're joined today by Peter D'Angelo, where he is going to be sharing with us about AI and the AI mindset and think first and implement second. And Frank, since you have the longer standing relationship with Pete, I'd love you to kind of kick things off with us today.
Yeah, awesome, Pete. So, when you started this company, right? You have kind of dived into AI on really how to automate, and just really tell us your story, because I know your primary industry was mortgages and helping people in that area, but the transition to AI and the transition to Habit to Harvest, tell us a little bit how that came about, and really where did the name Habit to Harvest come from?
Oh, thank you so much, Frank. And thank you both, Ollie and Frank, for having me here. It's a pleasure. It's a great question, Frank. I've been fascinated by technology most of my life, but when AI first came on the scene, I was an early adopter, 2022. There are other people who are earlier than that, but that's when I got on the train when ChatGPT really started to become commercially popular. And what I found was over the years since then, I wound up giving talks, and coming from the mortgage background, I wanted to provide value to my realtor colleagues. So I would host these seminars and kind of teach how you can use artificial intelligence to help your business, to plan your business, to draft communications, things like that. And it started small because of what the capabilities were at the time. And then back in 2025, my wife and I were expecting our first, and I found that I was helping a lot of people as the technology was getting a lot better. And I was actually leveraging it more and more and more. So I recognized that there was an opportunity here. And in particular, there was a big gap, and the gap continues to grow between the adopters at enterprise levels and the support and infrastructure that they have to implement artificial intelligence and use it in their business. And then your small to medium-sized businesses, where a lot of times we get comfortable in doing the things the way that we do them, but the efficiency gains that were available are incredible. So I said, I feel called to serve this. And then I had a very palpable experience. So I'm feeding my daughter at 2:00 in the morning, and I'm watching YouTube. I figured if I'm going to be awake, let me educate myself during this time. So I'm feeding her and getting her back to sleep. And I'm watching all these YouTube videos on artificial intelligence, AI. Jeffrey Hinton, one of the godfathers of AI, and all these smart people talking about it. And I'm holding her in my arms, and I'm thinking to myself, I almost feel like I really need to understand this to be the kind of father that I need to be in what the world is going to wind up becoming in not too distant of a future. And that sounds like pretty esoteric, but at the core of it, this is a change of technology, like the internet, like going from fax to email. These are the types of revolutionary things that I was like, well, I'm all in on this. I've spent a lot of time with it. I've taught a lot of people. So let me treat myself and my mortgage business as patient zero, client zero, and see what kind of implementation I can do to streamline my own operation in the business within the framework of a very heavily compliance-heavy business, so that I can be operating compliant, making sure that no personal information is going anywhere, but implement it on the back end so that I can be efficient at what I do, calculating things, drafting communications, things like that. So once I did that, then I said, I learned a lot of lessons implementing it for myself. I'm now ready to start helping small to medium-sized businesses as well as individuals to learn this technology and implement it effectively, safely, and securely for themselves, either personally or professionally.
So Pete, just curious, what were your results? So what did you gain by leveraging AI for your own business?
Awesome question. So the biggest unlock was email management. Stuck in email a lot, right? And I think all of that resonates with a lot of people. Yeah. I was the first thing I needed to do. I was like, I saw friction. How can I reduce friction? And I got obsessed with it. I'm talking about, let me take a 5-minute activity and make it 1 minute. Let me take a 2-minute activity, make it 30 seconds. So shameless plug for some really great platforms that are out there, but the first one is called Fixer, Fyxer, not sponsored. But it was one of the earlier email management, AI-driven email management solutions that were available. So I went and I played with that for a while. It's SOC 2 compliant, which is a fancy way of saying that Microsoft said, and there's a particular compliance framework they have to stay within. So SOC 2 compliant, good for data security. And it was one of the only ones that Microsoft themselves gave the stamp of approval for. So even in my company, I had approval to use this platform. That was the biggest unlock between what it can do for me in organizing my inbox by training it properly, because it learns you, and then also my email drafting strategy. And this is going back a year ago, and now it's only gotten more efficient. But as far as, taking communication, using voice to text, which is one of the biggest unlocks in using AI, getting your hands off the keyboard, talking more stream of consciousness about what you want to do. So I started doing that. I would just talk through what I'd like my emails to say, data dump, brain dump for longer emails. And then for shorter emails, just kind of like really quickly get the ideas out, train the AI on my tone of voice so the emails sound and look like me and they stay authentic. I review, audit, and then I can send. So that was the biggest first unlock. And I'm talking about saving at least conservatively an hour to 2 hours a day that, on the aggregate of the day, I was in my inbox. Not talking to clients, not calling my referral partners, not staying in touch with realtors, not doing all the things that you really need to do to keep your business moving forward.
Yeah.
So that was the first one. I picked the low-hanging fruit, and then from there kind of started, okay, what's my next friction point? Oh, running calculations for things. No personal information's there. I'm just picking a property, putting in an interest rate, putting a down payment amount, and having the calculations prepared for me. Bingo. That's another one now that I'm not having to calculate. I can just give the scenario, and I trained an AI to do that for me. Researching properties. Clients are shopping. They shop for a long time because of the competitive nature in New Jersey. So I trained a Google gem to be my expert property analysis assistant. I just drop in a property address. It returns back to me that property, listing information, listing description, comparable sales. It's going to verify the tax record for me. It's going to verify or give me an estimate for what homeowners insurance looks like. And then it also gives me an opinion on value, which now I'm probably, I want to say about 7 months into using it. It's pretty damn sharp. I still take it all with a grain of salt, but now when I have my conversation with the client, immediately I've got a lot of information for them. I'm prepared to answer a lot more questions. And those were probably my top three, industry specific to the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
Ali, you got a question?
No, I mean, I'm just no, I'm just thinking about like how the obsession that you have with getting it from 5 minutes to 1 minute, 2 minutes to 30 seconds. Thinking of how much time you saved, and then being able to just logic that out into the future of, man, if you're saving yourself right on the low end, 5 hours a week, what are you able to do with that time that you didn't have access to before?
Yeah, that is actually what essentially created the groundwork and foundation for me to feel comfortable and also be prepared to launch my AI consulting business. Because I was able to do that, for me, I've been a career-long mortgage lender, 14 years, second generation in the industry. I'll never not do it. I love it. It's something about helping people buy their first home, helping people navigate. I kind of consider myself more of like a debt advisor, where you have a wealth advisor that's handling the asset side of someone's life. I'm handling the liability side. And that's the approach that I take. So, and I love doing that. I love helping my clients and the families navigate things, and I try to manage to yes. So it's not a matter of, do you qualify now? I'm like, well, right now you don't, or here's what we can do to put you in a better position 6, 12, 15 months from now. I'll go out as long as I think it would take. So being able to have the infrastructure built so I can efficiently do that business had essentially created the groundwork for me to be able to now provide this value to individuals, sales professionals, solopreneurs, and small to medium-sized businesses to understand artificial intelligence, because the understanding is the first part. The AI and what it can do is great, but it needs context. And the context part, that's the important thing. So, I hope that answers your question, but that unlock of time for me, compounded enough where that now I can actually pursue this, which had been a passion of mine for years. And the fact that I can do this in a way that serves small to medium-sized businesses is extremely rewarding and fun. I really, it's problem solving, like that's the common thread too.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to work in an amazing company. I work at Rate. We are a fintech masquerading as a mortgage lender, essentially. And what we're able to do for our clients and the speed of delivery, there's AI on the back end, securely implemented at a corporate level that really helps to empower us on the front lines, helping the families in our communities. So the fact that I have that, there's a really nice synergy that happens. And then taking it into the context of other businesses now where I can understand things, understand how it's implemented in a safe and secure way. Huge unlock, super powerful.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've heard just in the last, 10 minutes or so that we've been talking is really the heart for serving that you have. And it's serving in like whatever capacity that you're able to do that, right? Like it just exists in, the mortgage space, but now you're utilizing this technology and being able to free up time for yourself so that you can go serve more people. Like I'm really just hearing like that's the heart of the foundation for everything that you're doing, that you're building this AI infrastructure on top of.
Exactly right, Ali. And that's where when I was graduating college, I got a liberal arts degree. So I got a degree in sound engineering and I got a BFA for sound engineering for music, television, radio, and music.
Hence the Marshalls behind you.
Hence the Marshall behind, Marshall behind me over here. Yeah. So, I came from an artistic background. And so I kind of always was playing this game of contextualizing what I loved, which was serving. Like it was serving in an artistic way. And then I was like, okay, this is the common thread here. I'm called to serve. And maybe that's a core belief of mine from my upbringing. My parents instilled in me, like, we're here to help other people. All of us have our own talents and gifts. Part of the journey is finding out what those are. And then the other part of the journey is how are you able to do that in a way that you can provide for your family, provide for yourself, and be a positive presence in your community consistently. So this kind of new technology is one of the things that's now helped me in a way that like I was within a particular vocabulary of help. Mortgage lending, that's my vocabulary. I can educate, I can guide. Now that vocabulary is opened up where in my consulting business, it's industry agnostic, so to speak. No matter what industry you're in, what it all boils down to is where are your frictions? What are the things that are your priority to reduce friction? And then how can we implement that in a safe and secure way that A, doesn't break the bank, and that makes sure that we're actually solving problems and not following the bouncing ball or having shiny object syndrome because, oh, well, this tool's available. I just want to get this tool. And now that it's going to make everything better. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. And unfortunately, there are multi-billion-dollar companies that go down that pathway the wrong way. So if it's happening there, it can happen anywhere. So that's part of the value that I like to try to provide.
Pete, kind of dive into, because a lot of times a business owner doesn't know, like they go to a consultant because they want help. They don't go to a consultant because they know the answers, right? So process is really important. And Ali's process with his clients is extremely important, extremely diligent. Same thing with mine. What's your process with a business owner? It's like, I need to use AI because I feel like it is. I feel like I'm drowning maybe a little bit, or I'm behind. What steps do you take to start to identify?
Yeah, that's awesome, Frank. And I actually have kind of a framework of questions that I like to have on the introductory call. And where they always start off is very open-ended. Like think about the past 48 hours. What were the things that you did that were a pain, that don't require your expertise brain to do, that you wound up putting more than 30 minutes to an hour into? People are very quick to be able to say, well, I got stuck in my inbox for 3 hours yesterday. Okay. What else? Keeping it open-ended, because I want to hear what's attached to the feelings for these, if it's a sales professional or a business owner, what are the things that right now are the things that are having a negative impact on how you're feeling about your workday and the work you're doing? And how can we manage so that really the core philosophy is using this technology to do more because you can now. That's really what it is. The companies that are going to go by the wayside are the companies that use it to replace. They got a short trip. The companies that are the ones that are going to have staying power are the ones that understand this technology to a level where they know now with what I have, I can do 20%, 50% more without killing myself. So that's where that conversation starts. Friction first. Once we get a lay of the land of the friction, that's most of what I call the discovery process is. So I understand where the friction points are. I get a sense of where the priority is, how, what is going to be the lowest hanging fruit to unlock the most amount of time and effort and energy now for other things. Keying in on that, understanding what systems they're using, and then putting together strategies. So after that initial kind of discovery chat, which is very free form, I have my own framework, but otherwise it's a free conversation like we're all chatting now.
Yeah.
I record it down. I use Zoom heavily and other different things. I use Firefly's AI to be my note taker. And then I take those notes, have a chat session. I use Claude primarily, and it's trained on my business proposition, how I operate my business. And that's where I did a lot of my business planning, was in collaboration as a thought partner. So your question about where the name came from, Habit to Harvest, really came from the fact that after a long chat session back and forth, I said, I have this idea that this is kind of not just a consultancy where I'm like trying to sell a service. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is help empower people so they can develop the proper habits and the mindsets that are required as the world now continues to adapt rather very quickly.
Yeah.
Because what I can solve right now will be obsolete in a year, maybe 6 months.
Yep.
And now there's a new solution. So really it's important for me to help my clients to cultivate that mindset or be their outsourced person who has that mindset now with the context and knowledge of their business and how they operate and what their goals are. So that now I'm there. That's part of my retainer model. So after I've already implemented something, that gives them some longevity for the solutions and efficiencies that could be picked up along the way.
So Pete, one thing is you named a ton of different solutions. You said Claude. You said Gemini already. You said what was the email one? Fire. You said
Fixer.
Fixer.
Fixer. Right? Yeah.
There's so many out there. Like, how do you, if you're a business owner and you don't necessarily, how do you know what AI to use or leverage? Like, where do you start there?
This is an amazing question because there's not really I can't give you a very boilerplate answer to it. Especially because you're trying to hit a target that's moving while you're blindfolded riding on a horse.
Okay.
All these, that's essentially what it is right now.
That does not sound like good odds. That does not sound like good odds.
But that being said, it's important, I think, to be aware of that going in, but then still go and try. Like it's kind of an adventure type of approach. You got to play with it, see if it's getting you what you want, play in another platform. So I'll just do a recap because I've kind of been all over sharing what these different things are, but we've got from a baseline, what I'll call 4 frontier, quote unquote, frontier AI model labs. We've got OpenAI, and they've got ChatGPT, Perplexity. Perplexity is your research assistant, and ChatGPT is your chat, and functional. Then you have Anthropic, which makes Claude. And instead of having like Perplexity and ChatGPT like OpenAI does, Claude within Anthropic is everything within that. And within that, you have Claude, which is your chatbot, Claude Cowork, which is your mini agentic experience where you can create these mini agents that do tasks for you on routine or prompted. And then there's Claude Code, which has become very popular because people are getting into what's called vibe coding, just talking to it and telling it what it wants, and then it creating these pretty impressive things. And then Friday last week, Anthropic just released another front-end feature, which is called Claude Design. And that is damn impressive. My goodness. And it's really cool. So my wife is a graphic designer and she's a teacher. So part of this is also like sometimes she's like, am I even teaching anything that's going to be worthy anymore? Because like I'm teaching these kids how to use Photoshop and Adobe InDesign, all these things. And I said, yes, because the vocabulary is still important. Yes. So sure, these things can do things, and someone without any design experience can get something that looks good and maybe even great. But if you have the vocabulary for design and now you go in, that I am so excited to see what that looks like. So like literally tonight, I'm going to hook her up with it so she can use Claude Design and give me feedback, because I would love to know what a designer thinks of using that.
Yeah.
So I digress. We got Anthropic that we left off on. And then you also have what I'll say is the third one is Google Gemini. And Gemini is very multifaceted. There's the Gemini chat interface. I normally will say to people, Gemini, because most people have a free version of it. And the free version is pretty good. I think in my experience, and some family and friends and clients have noticed a bit of a drop off as of late, because they have now a paid tier. These things happen. So I normally say there because it's free and you can kind of get a sense of it. And it's pretty sharp. It does image generation, things like that. And then the fourth, which isn't a model in and of itself yet, but there's Microsoft Copilot, and a lot of institutions have Microsoft Copilot. But Microsoft Copilot, I say for last because it's what we call multimodal. You can have ChatGPT, Claude, these other AIs that you can use within Copilot. And the benefit there for organizations is Copilot's within the Microsoft environment that keeps the security that people need and trust and want when they're using these platforms. So it's just wrapping up these AI models in a secured environment, contained, so you don't have to worry about data privacy problems.
Gotcha.
And then there's Grok, but that waxes and wanes. We're gonna see. I was using it and I've kind of gotten away from it, but that is an honorable mention, number 5.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with Grok in the last one that we won't go into.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I love that you said was about the vocabulary, right? The vocabulary conversation. You've mentioned that a couple times, especially as I am somebody who comes from a graphic design, digital marketing background. I've built websites, I've done the branding and the logos and stuff, and I see all of the AI posters that come out that people have been posting about their business, and I get how easy and simple it is to do that. But when it comes to the vocabulary of knowing why something works, why something is great, and I think this ties back into the whole AI mindset of, yes, you can get something that to the untrained eye, looks really great. But then if you're trying to recreate that or to, explain it to maybe another AI or another GPT or something like that, you don't necessarily have the language to really explain, like, well, these are the things that work really well about that particular poster or about the writing that that was just created. And I'm trying to explain this to something else, and I don't have the language or the vocabulary to be able to do that. And this is where I can see a lot of businesses have maybe wasted a lot of time experimenting versus being able to go in and knowing how to get to the result faster because they have the language and the vocabulary and the understanding and around why the principles and how the principles work.
Absolutely. And you hit on something very important there, Ali, because they get stuck in the exploring mode.
Yeah.
Which is good to do, but you need to give yourself some sort of goal or a time limit so that, all right, am I being effective right now, or am I still just playing around with things? Because you learn through play, which is good, but then you could just be playing and there's no value like being added. And that's an amazing point. And what we're also talking about here is context. That's come up a number of times too. So we'd say vocabulary and context. That's kind of where this is all going now. There used to be, you could buy prompts online, prompt packs, and it's giving you, whatever you could use automatically. And now that's gone by the wayside. And quite frankly, even prompt engineering, which is something where there were frameworks taught on like how to prompt and how to engage with these AI systems to get a better, consistent result. Even that now has started to change. I normally teach on a six level prompt engineering type of framework. So you use role, give it a role, who it's going to act as, task, what are you trying to accomplish, context, here's all the context of what we're doing, reasoning, with all this context and what we're trying to do, you're going to need to think through X, Y, and Z. You're going to need to research Y and Z. And then you're going to give it the output. What is it going to look like when you're all done? This means we have an end goal. This is what I need from you. And then the limitations. These are the things I don't want. I don't want you to doing these things. I don't want you looking here for information. I need you to give me this. I don't need this or that. That's I still talk about that. But literally just this morning in one of my articles I was reading, I found that now they're starting to understand that the AI platforms are not working as well when you give them a role or a persona every time.
Really?
Yeah. So what they're finding is if you want to do things that are creative, like creative writing and things like that, roles are great. It's starting to harness it in within a lane so that it can operate properly. But if you wanted to do math, research, give you like quality data and information, if you tell it to be an expert X, Y, or Z, it will be more confident in giving you the wrong information instead of getting you the right information and presenting it appropriately.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they noticed an 86.3% drop off in math, like just doing math equations and problems. If you tell it to be an expert mathematician, it will mess up.
Amazing.
You know,
That's
so
amazing.
these are the things that change over time.
And it doesn't have E&O insurance, so if you take the wrong advice from it and implement it, you're kind of stuck.
We're still in control here. And that's just the thing. You know, we've got to make sure we're responsible for everything that we're doing. We're auditing everything that comes out of these systems. They are very impressive.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're responsible. AIs aren't responsible yet. I just know of there's there are voice agents that people are building and selling a lot of. And now there's actually a UC1 classification for voice agents that make them insurable. So it's funny that you mentioned that, but
Really?
maybe 2 to 3 months ago, there's an AI lab called 11 Labs, and they really do focus and hone in on voice agents and voice, speech to text, text to speech, narration, things like that. And that's just high level. But they actually, 11 Labs came up with the first voice agent that passed this framework. So it is actually insurable, which is kind of wild.
That's crazy.
That's
wild. Yeah.
So Pete, talk a little bit about agentic AI and kind of some of the uses people are using and just even explain for some folks that aren't exactly sure what that means.
Yeah, by all means. Agentic AI is essentially a highly dynamic chatbot. So something you can chat with, like you chat with ChatGPT and it responds back to you and it's getting information from different places. So agentic AI is giving the AI a particular set of requirements that it needs to accomplish a goal within these requirements, right? And it could have variation. So it's going to need to be able to navigate the hurdles, overcome them, and get you what you need. That's agentic AI, very simply said. It's able to kind of proceed through obstacles, find solutions as it's working through to get to a task that you've given it. That is one thing. Agentic AI is getting confused with automation a lot.
Yeah.
Automation, on the other hand, is what we call deterministic. If this, then that. And it can be very complex trees of that and webs of that. But at the end of the day, if any one of those branches hits a roadblock, it stops. It fails. That's where automation fails, and that's where agentic AI is more helpful, right?
Yep.
That being said, where there's kind of this powerful unlock that I'll share, and it's a cornerstone of my business, you can use agentic AI to create proper automations and workflows and steelman those workflows so that you can avoid the things that are going to break it. And you can kind of have a thought partner. So this way, when you build it, you don't have to worry about it breaking as much. Could still happen. There's what's called edge cases. There's things and variables that come into the playing field that we didn't expect. And that's okay. That's how it goes. Agentic, though, is what can get through those obstacles. If we were just to compare side by side, that's it, very simply said.
So, kind of somewhat along those lines, I'm just curious because you've played around with this a lot and you've helped a lot of people. Is there any situations where you're like, I'm not going to be able to solve for this, or we're not going to be able to kind of figure this out, and then you dove in there, you started work, and you're like, oh wow, we actually were able to do this. Is there any stories of that happening?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think. The only Normally, I like to identify those things on the front end, and if it's a hard stop, it's a hard stop because of either a system access problem or vulnerability that I don't want to expose, right? Those just could be the hard stops, in which case then normally it's a pivot to, well, here's an alternative solution. Matter of fact, yes. Now I'm going to say yes. There was a point for one of my clients. I was assisting with creating a solution for generating documents. Just put it simply like that. And these were complicated documents. I got about halfway through. I thought, I can do this. Got halfway through. I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. And then, oh, I can do this. And it kind of went through this. And it did take going through failure modes, going through a lot of failures until I got to a point where I almost was like, maybe this just isn't going to work. Let me take a step back. Taking the step back and then thinking through a wider picture helped me to then focus in and find the solution to the problem that was my roadblock right then and there. And a lot of that was through collaboration. AI is an amazing thought partner. If you've got ideas and you want to just kind of tease it out, it's very important, just as the asterisk to that, it's very important to make sure that you put in, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little technical, but there's system prompts. There's things that you can put into your AI platform of choice that persist all of the conversations you have. So these are kind of like a very general rule. It's very important to tell and put into these system prompts that you do not want these AIs to act sycophantically. You want them to be critical. I have one in there that says, in my Claude, it says, honesty is the best policy. I never want you to provide me information to satisfy a question. I want you to give me information that is the true answer. And if you don't have an answer, I want you to know that's okay. And I'd like to work through finding an answer together. That's within my system prompt. So when I work with it, I can trust it as a thought partner, and it knows better. And I have one project where I kind of have Claude being a jerk to me because I want it to poke. So do I. You know what I mean? And you know what? I love chatting in there the most because I'm finding things that I didn't think of. It's helping me uncover blind spots that I never would have thought of. Sometimes it goes overboard, but that's where we have to come in and rein it in. But to answer your question,
those moments where it gets a little like, it's like, wait, hold on. I want you to be like, give me the brutal truth, but you don't got to be a jerk about it.
Exactly. It's learn to soften up.
Why are you insulting me right now?
But hey, I mean, I honestly, I would prefer that over being told, oh yeah, great idea. That's remarkable. I'm like, no, it's not. No.
Like that, Pete, that's a dumb question. That's just dumb.
Yeah, thank you. That is dumb.
You want me to answer this again?
Exactly right. Exactly.
Like we already covered this.
Right.
That's great.
Exactly.
Well, here's another question, if you don't mind. It's just right, and just the thinking, like, what are the things that should remain uniquely human? Right, that should remain like just in the domain that AI that people shouldn't think about using AI for.
There are many books written and more to be written on this. And where I'm at with this right now, I'm in the middle of a really great book called Human 3.0 by Max Tegmark. Okay. He's a scholar of physicists. He's a physicist from, I think, Harvard or MIT. And the whole book is really like thick, going through all these different things like you're talking about. What does human look like in an AI world? Core philosophy of mine is the human stuff. Whatever's the stuff that you have to do in your business that requires human interaction, serving a human being, that shouldn't be AI. You can have AI to supplement if it means creating an AI agent that's more of a 24/7 resource for a client. Wonderful. But at the end of the day, that's now a trigger. My client Max was talking to my chatbot at 11:30 last night and had a bunch of questions about qualification. I'm going to give him a call now. That kind of relationship, you know, and there may be a front end AI that gets super savvy and people will maybe prefer because they're going to be boom, quick, 24/7, get the answer they need and move along. Yeah. But I think at core, it's the people. It's the people stuff that is not in the world where I believe it's appropriate for AI to operate. You know what I mean? It's going to get better. with emotional intelligence. That's one of the hangups. The zooming out now, getting kind of philosophical about it. That's the chapter I was just reading this morning, is the consciousness of AI. What is consciousness? We've got to define that. And guess what? There's not a definition, guys. So as people talk about this and like, oh my God, it's conscious. I'm like, what is consciousness? Thousands of years, philosophers have been talking about this, but we don't have a deterministic way of determining that, right? Yeah. So kind of thinking through it like that, I believe it's the people stuff. It's the stuff that's super sensitive, whether emotionally sensitive or sensitive data. Those are the things that AI should not do until we have something that approximates a very strong, secure environment for the latter, secure data. But, I've got a very good friend of mine in the cybersecurity world says there's no such thing as 100% secure. It's just a matter of the least amount of opportunity for insecurity.
Yeah, 100%. And this is a philosophical question that's going to be going on probably forever. I think back to some of the sci-fi novels, anything by Philip K. Dick, or even Short Circuit, Johnny Five Alive, like that whole we're talking about the 80s, like when I was thinking about Ex Machina and Blade Runner, like all these movies that have talked about what makes something human or conscious in that sense of can a machine have a soul, and all these different things. And obviously that's not the purview of this conversation, but that is in the background of everything that we're doing. And so I love the aspect of seeing that somebody's checked talk to your chatbot at 11:30 p.m. about rates and things like that, but then following that up with a call with a human voice, that human interaction, that human connection is I think a perfect way to kind of offset some of the ways that we kind of just outsource things to AI.
Exactly. We're talking about augmentation, not replacement, So however we can leverage, in preparing for this conversation, I had a little chat with Claude. And one of the things that I took away from the chat was, a lot of times we're talking about leverage. Leverage, core there, lever, right? If the lever's not attached to anything, what good is the lever?
Right.
So, making sure that there's proper context and connection there so that you can be effective in what you're doing, and it's augmenting, it's supplementing your expertise, how you operate. So you can, maybe it's just a matter of scale. The scale unlock is the biggest growth opportunity when it comes to AI, right? I mean, if you have a successfully running business, we're no longer at a point where it's like, don't upset the apple cart. Your apple cart will get upset externally. So it's more so like, okay, how can we shift our business now so that we're more incorporating AI to improve what we're able to do more efficiently and get things done for people, maybe even in a better way than we've been doing it before. Those are the types of ideas and the type of mindset that's required, because there's adopt and adapt. The adopting happens after you adapt. You need to adapt to what's happening around you first. And then once you've adapted, now you can start to move forward into adopting what's going to work best. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
It's the key piece when, like, listening to all this is you start looking at the work for, like, I come from the workforce, side of it. Workforce is going to change, and it's going to change dramatically. The skills that were needed and necessary in yesteryear are not going to be the skills that we need to do. And people need to realize, right? Like, to your point, Ali, and to your point, Pete, like the human side, so what is that? Like, what does that mean? And you also talked about proper vocabulary, right? So kind of what I'm hearing from this conversation is, being an expert, being a true expert, understanding a field is going to be more important now than ever before to separate yourself. Not because you just, the knowledge is at your fingertips, but utilizing that knowledge.
Yeah.
And then the other piece where you're talking about the human side, right? The stuff that, what's the stuff that people are not going to want to offset? Is it that, the handshake, the being some, whatever it may be, like, what is that? And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting as it progresses. But like like every everything that's changed is scary and exciting at the same time, right? So
yeah, it's kind of like weighing how much of this is the fear of the unknown that's at play, and how much of it is just general fear, and then how much of it is excitement and like elation because of what this can do and like unlock for people. I stay optimistic, cautiously optimistic about it all. I think the human part that you're talking about, Frank, is so very important.
Yeah.
That's where we're all coming from. That's where we can connect with each other. No matter what technology is around, I believe at least that one of the benefits of this is that I see a future where no longer is like conversation of meaning of life exclusively to houses of worship and whatever like that. This becomes something that is required for all of us because of what you just mentioned about having that expertise, having domain knowledge is like the terminology in the AI field. And that's where I'm uniquely positioned. That's where I come in, because I may have a domain knowledge like in the mortgage and real estate world, but let's talk about accountants. Oh, I kind of, but you are the expert. What's your domain knowledge? How do we now get that domain knowledge to translate into things that are going to be solutions for you and your business using AI and serving your clients and helping you to scale your business, things along those lines. All of that, people. That's the focus of it all. It's really getting back to the people. So that's where I have like a very, I'll be honest, over just a half glass full, you know what I mean? Optimism on it.
Like 5% over half glass, or we're talking about
I'll go 60. We're 60 to 65% water. Yeah. That's where I'm at with it.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How about you guys? I want to ask, in your experience and exploration of AI, what's like maybe your top number one thing that's been unlocked for you?
So for me, I've been using it primarily, a lot of in preparation, right? And we actually, full disclosure, Pete and I are part of the same networking group, and we actually had this conversation the other day, right? It's leveraging it to prepare properly for meetings, be able to be critical and get feedback on where deals are and where there might be blind spots that exist that I'm not completely aware of. Not leveraging as much as for automation as I should be. Actually, part of my to-do list today was to talk to you about scheduling time to actually have a conversation about this. But it's so primarily research and preparation has been I've been using it mostly for. I don't know,
Awesome.
Ali?
Yeah, Ali?
Yeah, same for me in terms of all the different ideas that I have, being able to sort of do research on them, check out the viability. Does this make sense? Being able to, one of the things that I've done or that I did in the past was I worked with a marketing and copywriting expert, Lynn Swayze, to develop what she calls the 11 marketing factors. So really going through and analyzing my voice and how I write and how I speak and, the tone and the direction that I like to bring to everything that I do. And so I've created a custom GPT based on this document that she and I created to be able to help with sort of streamlining some of the writing that I want to do, or just being able to tease out like different ideas, like, what are some different ways that I can phrase this? Like, so I'll write it first, still got my pen and paper, my journal, all those different things. I've trained it on, past writing to be able to get my voice down, to be able to mimic it, to maybe get something like 75, 80% of the way there. And then I can then take it the rest of the way with just pen and paper or just typing it. I literally just 2 or 3 weeks ago finally hooked up Claude to my Gmail and my Google Drive. So I've been going through and like, all right, help me find all the emails that I haven't replied to in the last 2 weeks. I posted the other day, I had 1,111 unread emails in my inbox. So I'm using it to like finally go through and chunk all of those things down, because there's just a lot of communication to go through. And if I I want to be very thoughtful in all of my responses. But if I do that for everything, I'm not going to have time for all the other things that I need to get done.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's a huge unlock for you. Start playing around with co-work and
I'm also going to schedule some one-on-one with you to get some assistance with the email tool that you were talking about. Because I use Pipedrive for my CRM. I'm trying to figure out how to connect my cowork to Pipedrive so that I can then start to fill in all the information and the notes that I have about all the contacts that I have, create some better context, and then start to come up with some planning for how I want to continue the outreach and the conversations, so that the human connection doesn't fall by the wayside from lack of using these tools that are available to me.
That's amazing. Actually, Pipedrive is my CRM, and nice. I love it. And I'm in the middle of developing like a Pipedrive CRM agent that you can kind of work with, and it's powered by Claude. But that may be something that right out of the box, because one of my ideas that I wanted to keep on the shelf for clients was how great would it be? Because the number one thing I hear, my business partner, Dave Facone, he's a business coach, as well as founder of the Be Sure Network.
Yeah, he was a guest on
last week. Okay. So one of the things that comes through a lot of the time when he's training new people in a Salesforce and people who've been seasoned is the not leveraging the CRM.
Yes.
Because it's another thing to do. And so you can integrate, but I thought, like, how amazing would it be if like people could just chat and like natural language, just, talk to their phone and be like, all right, I talked to Steve, Mark, and Dave today. Steve's ready to go. Mark needs a couple weeks. And then boom, it goes to this agent. It puts the notes into the contacts.
Yep.
And now your CRM's updated because we just reduced the friction of how do you get the data to the CRM. Yeah. So between voice and then Slack, that's what I'm kind of playing around with right now. And I think I'm probably going to have like 2 levels. If someone wants to have like a phone number to call and actually talk to their admin, who's their CRM admin, and then another way of just, sending a voice note via Slack or text. And that's what I'm going to do, so that then technically the infrastructure could then overlay on top of any CRM.
Yeah.
And so I know that I'm doing this just for now, because 6 months from now, a lot of these CRM tools are going to wind up probably building in something comparable for themselves. Because that's kind of how everything goes in this space.
But then they're just going to raise the price on a subscription. But if I have a free thing that I've already like kludged together, I prefer to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think there's some longevity opportunity there. So that's amazing. By all means, happy to help with that too, Ali. But it's so cool hearing even between the two of you, just like preparation for Frank and kind of organizing things. And then on your end, now you're starting to, beyond it being the thought partner for your content, and that was it the 12 or the 10 marketing framework?
11 marketing factors.
11 marketing factors. That's amazing. And it's, now you're getting into where the rubber meets road with like your daily operation, which is going to be so powerful for you.
Yeah. And I'll just give another shout out again. I worked with Lynn Swayze to be able to do that. And this is where I think could be another avenue for other copywriters, other people who have the vocabulary and the expertise. Maybe invest in the upfront work to get the foundation of like what those things look like, and then feed it into your AI, as opposed to going to the AI first and then trying to figure it out and all of that, right? You've already have an expert who can teach you what some of that vocabulary is, and that'll shorten your adoption time for the AI, tools that you want to implement.
Absolutely right. I couldn't agree more.
Covered a lot.
This was a great conversation, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, holy crap, Red. We're almost
I know. Yeah. Amazing.
So, go ahead, Frank.
No, I was gonna say, as we kind of wrap up there, Pete, you wanna drop a couple pieces of wisdom for that solopreneur, that person in that 5-10 person shop that is overwhelmed? Where do they start? How do they reach you?
Yeah, thank you, Frank. So I want to kind of tag off with like 3 pitfalls to avoid, because I think this is going to be ubiquitous, whether you're a sales professional, solopreneur, or a small to medium-sized business. First pitfall to avoid is buying before auditing. So buying a tool to just, I heard this company that does what we do bought this tool, I'm going to buy it now. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. The second is then implementing whatever it is you buy without training. And I'm not talking about necessarily training the AI. That's an important piece. But the people who are going to be using whatever you're creating and whatever you're implementing by way of a tool, people need to learn. The big companies right now, that's the biggest hurdle. Even though they have a great technology at their mercy, at their behest. The actual people doing the work are not properly trained. That's a common problem across all industries right now using AI. And then the third is measuring things wrong. There's a difference between activity and adoption. You could be doing a lot of things using something, and you can watch people's usage. You know, in AI world, it's token usage, right? So you can track those. Having the right key performance indicators and the key metrics is more important than people using the system, because then the adoption is, well, how much has Frank been able to accomplish this week? I saw his usage was less than Ali's, but he's got 15 more appointments booked in the next month.
Yeah.
So establishing proper KPIs, key performance indicators, not just looking at how much people are using something, how effectively and how much is yielding from their use. If those are the three things, and if you start to just have a personal interest in artificial intelligence, you don't need a consultant. You just can hone in on those things. Albeit where I have the value with Habit to Harvest is you've got enough on your plate. You've got a business to run. You don't want to be inside your business. I'm going to bring to the table the outsourced research, and I'm going to be the one to essentially translate that vocabulary. Like we were talking about, that domain knowledge that you have and what's available right now and what could be available soon. We take that into consideration. Now let's start talking about what's going to work and how can we do it within your budget, whether that's budget for what I charge, which I'd like to be flexible on that. I do not want price to get in the way of small business owners in implementing these things. So I will work it out, however is going to work best. But then there's also the budget for the tools themselves.
Yeah.
Operating within those frameworks. That's where I'm going to be providing the most value to people. And then even individually, I have some clients that just personally were like, me and my wife have calendars here and there, and we're constantly overbooking each other or overlapping. Great. Well, here's something very easy we can implement. Sometimes it's not a huge lift, and we can just have a session for an hour, go through that and a couple other things, and now we're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah.
So where do they find you, Pete?
Oh, sure. So you can follow me on Instagram at pete.d'angelo. My email address is pete@habit, TO for 2, harvest.com. And yeah, on LinkedIn, Peter D'Angelo. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I do have YouTube that will be released soon. So I'll keep you guys posted on that.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Really appreciated this. This was awesome.
No, this was great. Thank you so much for a conversation, Pete. Ali, thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Yeah, this was awesome. And yeah, so we'll be back next week with Pete. Also, as a heads up, we're going to be doing an in-person get-together second week of June, Thursday, June 11th. Scaling Smarter in-person get-together with all the past guests and some special VIPs. So hope you'll be able to join us for that.
Yeah, I'm on board. That sounds great.
Yeah, awesome. We'll send you the details later. And as well, we'll link to we'll summarize some of the great points that you shared and link out to some of the books and resources that you mentioned as well.
Awesome. Sounds great. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys. Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.